Hi, I'm Debbie Moraes, and this is Legal Matters, the program designed to address the critical issues facing businesses and consumers today. It's legal information, practical solutions, and straight talk about a wide variety of topics, from finance and family law to personal injury and workers' compensation, divorce, and more. In our last few segments, we were talking about various torts, and most recently it was product liability. As always, we invite our viewers to email in a question or call in with a question, and not surprisingly, we have one. With us to address those questions today, we have David Bazar and Nancy Neese, both from ABCG, Audette, Bazar, Cordeiro Grasso law firm in East Providence. And the question is, we have a woman wrote in, she said, I have a daughter who was taking a prescription medication for her acne. And she had taken it for a while, and she became suicidal. The good news is she did not commit suicide, but she was suicidal, and she's been in treatment under doctor's care for a month. Do we have a case, David?
There's a number of issues that fact pattern raises. First of all, is it a side effect that's a commonly known side effect that should have been explained to them before they took it? If it is, and it wasn't, there could be negligence in that itself. The other thing, though, is damages, because as we talked about as we went through products liability, is you have to have a negligence or a breach of some type of duty that was owed or a defective product. And if you have those things, there's going to be causation to damages. And we talked about bringing products liability cases on an individual basis, not a class action situation, only when there's a great amount of damages, because just like medical malpractice cases, they're very expensive to bring. A month's worth of treatment, if she's back to normal, back to where she was, didn't act out on any attempt to commit suicide, probably not enough damages to bring a case on that fact alone. But I would always encourage anyone who has a question like that to call an attorney directly, give all of the facts that might be relevant to the situation, and let them explore it with you.
Okay, would that treatment for the month, would that be something that the manufacturer would be responsible for? Is that just something the daughter's health care should be taken care of, our family health care should take care of?
In the abstract, law school exam type of question, it's probably something that they ought to be taken care of. The problem is, in reality, to bring a lawsuit in a products liability setting is expensive. And it's not going to warrant the attorney's time or perhaps the person's investment to cover the expenses to bring that suit.
Okay, thank you. So, for today's topic, the upside of the downturn in the economy means that someone's house loss may be your gain. And while there certainly is enough bad news out there, for some of us there might be some good news. And if you have cash or access to it, there might be some good opportunities for investment. So we thought that it would be a good idea to have David and Nancy give us a little bit of a rundown of what to look for and possibly how to avoid some of the pitfalls. So we understand we've heard terms like pre-foreclosure and foreclosure and auction. What works, how does it work, and what should we do?
Again, there's a couple of different issues. We should talk both about buying real estate in general, because there is a lot of reasons to buy real estate now. Prices are down.
Right, in this market, it's a good time to just go ahead and look for some real estate.
And interest rates are pretty good. So if you have good credit and you have an opportunity to buy, and there's some benefits of being a first-time homeowner now, where there are tax credits and other advantages, and the Rhode Island Housing Mortgage Finance Company, RIMFAC, has some good deals too.
What about Massachusetts?
Massachusetts, Jackie didn't come with us today.
Okay.
Anything in Massachusetts that you know of?
Not that I know of that's different at this point. I mean, you still have the federal tax credit no matter where you are.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest benefit at this point.
Okay.
And Mass may or may not have a first-time homeowners program, but Rhode Island definitely does. And so we should talk about things that you need to know as you go through just buying a home in general, and then we'll talk about the opportunities of buying a home at foreclosure or after foreclosure.
Okay. So where to start? How about if it's not in foreclosure? What should you be looking for for real estate?
Well, I mean, you're looking for a good investment, so you've been presumably looking in the market and you know when the price is right. And I guess that the point is that once you decide that you think you found the place that you want to buy and you're working with a real estate broker, you should contact an attorney, I think, from the outset to help you work on the purchase and sale agreement. And that's where you can have all your particulars written in there. You need to get the house inspected, obviously. You need to check for radon, the structural condition of the house, termites, mold,
And Nancy's
asbestos.
100% right. What happens oftentimes is someone's working with a broker, perhaps, to buy a house or on their own, and they come to the lawyer after they've already signed a purchase and sales agreement, and there's very little you can do at that point to change a purchase and sales agreement. It's a contract. So there are certain things you want in that agreement to begin with that you'd want to talk to an attorney before you sign it.
For those who are interested in doing as do-it-yourselfers, are they likely to be able to find a property on their own, not use a real estate agent to scout, but then just call you directly to make sure there aren't some hazards or risks or liens or whatever? Does that work well that way?
I think the answer would be yes, but in that case, even more so, you probably should contact the attorney, from the very beginning, because you're going to not have a broker's purchase and sale drafted. You're going to want the attorney. You need somebody to draft that contract. So for someone like that, more than anybody, you need legal advice from the outset.
Somebody goes, finds a house, wants to buy the house. The time to call the attorney is after you've made an offer that's been accepted, before you sign a written purchase and sales agreement. In Rhode Island, as well as almost every other state, I assume, there's a statute of frauds, which is a statute that requires certain contracts to be in writing. Contracts regarding real estate need to be in writing.
Rumor has it that lawyers are pretty good negotiators. What do you think about that? Is it a good idea for me not to, or think about having someone such as a lawyer negotiate for me? Or can you do a better job than the average consumer for negotiating?
Well, I think so. I think we bring to the table, we've seen a lot of issues. We've seen what can go wrong in a purchase and sale or in the sale. So I think it's always a good idea. We can advise. We can also work with your real estate broker. We're certainly not going to try to create more problems, but we will try to work with them and make sure that there are no issues down the road.
And there are certain things beyond price that need to go into the purchase
Correct.
and sales agreement. So certainly an attorney can help negotiate those things because you may not even know about them. Mortgage contingency is the far most important issue, that if you're buying a property, you don't have the money in your pocket. Most people don't. They need to get a mortgage. And what if for some reason you've entered into this contract and you can't get the mortgage?
The financing.
Well, you lose your deposit, don't you?
You could, unless you have a mortgage contingency clause.
Correct.
And you can explain that.
Well, just so that what a mortgage contingency clause would say normally, a kind of a standard one, that if you don't get your financing within X number of days, whether it's 30, 90 days, then you would get your full deposit back. So there would be no liability on your end, and you could get out of the contract immediately.
Does a consumer buy a contingency agreement? Is that something that we just pay a lawyer to do? How does that work?
No. The contingency clause just goes right into the purchase and sale. In other
Okay.
words, it's a
Just
condition
part of
of the
it.
sale. The sale will not go through if the purchaser can't get the financing in the time provided.
And a real estate agent won't do that?
They will.
They will.
And not to dwell on purchase and sales agreements, but it is the starting point. There are a number of conditions and clauses and things that can go into it. As Nancy talked about, the inspection goes into that. And the inspection clause can vary from agreement to agreement. It can say that if there's anything the matter with the property that's revealed in an inspection, the seller has the right to cure that and you have to go forward with the deal. It may say that if there's a problem, the buyer has the right to get out of the deal. You can negotiate all of those terms. The other conditions that could be in there are septic systems. Those are
Right.
things you'd want to inspect. If there's lead, you'd want to make sure that it passes a lead test or whatever if it's suspected. And Nancy already mentioned radon. So there are a number of issues. What's the date that this property should close by so that the sale is consummated? That date can be negotiated. So the long and short of it is you start with the purchase and sales agreement. That's when you should start with an attorney.